Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Game Week 9 of the Barclays Fantasy Premier League. You are watching my video post that I do every Thursday. Welcome. I enjoy it. I hope you do too. And you know how we do it. I'm going to do a little switch up. I apologize that I wasn't able to get a video out to you guys last week. I am sorry. So we are going to continue with things here. And we're going to kind of switch up the tip a little bit, if you will, on because normally I do players to watch, and I think I wanted to do a kind of special Game Week 9 versus edition. So, getting into it, I'm going to do a versus edition of players to watch, then I'll get into the winnable fixtures, and then we'll have some closing thoughts, as always. So, getting into it, pardon me, I'm going to try and do this on one take today. At least the audio. So getting into things in the versus battle of players to watch, I'm going to pit two players from one team against one another and just kind of outline why I think one is better than the other. And you know, by no means are any of these four players anything to laugh at. These are like top-notch guys. We're going to start off, and I'm going to start off with Man City. And the players that I'm going to go against with are Carlos Tevez versus Sergio Aguero. So, a little grudge match here with Tevez and Aguero. I think managers who have had Tevez in the last little bit have been kind of humming and hawing because he hasn't really scored. But he has picked up some bonuses and some assists that I'm looking at here on the FPL website. So he's not doing too bad, but the problem is whether he's going to be, you know, starting or not. It's going to be kind of interesting to see what Roberto Mancini does with, you know, the possibility of Silva being out. He may play Tevez a little back and may switch things up. So, you know, that's going to be something that you're going to have to keep an eye out on. You're not going to really know until the day of, unfortunately. But, again, so he's going up against Sergio Aguero. Now, this is a guy that I have on my team. I've had him on my team for a while now. It's kind of bothered me as a manager, and I'm sure as other managers have him too, that he's not starting. However, despite that fact, he's actually outscored Tevez since Game Week 5, I think, since that injury, or in total. I have to go back and look at that stat. I don't have it in front of me, but he's coming off the benches, he's coming off the bench, and he's doing better than Tevez. So you know that if I'm seeing that, if you guys are seeing that, you got to know that Mancini's thinking that. So either way, these two guys should be very well respected. You know, if you got one on your team or the other, by all means, keep them if you have a preference. However, in the versus match, I'm actually going to go with that I got on my team, playing a little biased. I can do that. I'm allowed to. So I'm going to go with Sergio Aguero for you know, the player that you want to have, because I think coming up against Swansea this week, he's probably going to get some points, and fingers crossed he does. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe he's going to be assisting or scoring on a Tevez, you know, helper. So both good players to watch, but I'm going to go with Aguero. For the second versus match, I'm going to go with another Manchester team, going with United, and I'm going to pit Robin van Persie versus Rooney. Fight! Should add in some Street Fighter sound effects in there, and you know what, I probably will. But getting into things, you know, managers who have Robin van Persie are probably very, very happy because he's playing full 90 minutes. He's starting, and you know what? When he plays away, which he is this week against Chelsea, he gets points. He's actually surprisingly very resilient playing away. He actually performs well away. He almost plays better away than he does at home. So, you know, this match against Chelsea, one is probably going to be the match to watch this weekend. I know I'm probably going to be out with the boys. Other than that, he actually, you know, is probably due for some points. I have to look back and see how he did last week, but I'm throwing him up against Wayne Rooney because these two guys are, they're almost in two different positions the way Ferguson has them, with Rooney being in the hole and up front. But even despite that fact, Rooney is, like last week he got 2 goals, I think, in the last, if I look at it now, in the last 2 games, I think he's got 2 goals, 4 assists, and 6 bonus points. And that's in kind of that deep, almost midfield role that he's playing. So, Rooney is definitely showing his diversity, and he can perform in whatever position he's playing. So, the one thing that that kind of has me thinking they may not play together or the setup might be different is only because Chelsea is really, really, really strong on the wings. They are really strong in the midfield, and they can open up. Chelsea can open up United, probably with a lot of ease, and more so with the confidence that they have right now with all the wins. And secondly, because they're going to be at home, they're going to have that home field advantage, which is always beneficial for teams. That's why I always favor players that are going to be playing home team. So in this instance, I'm actually going to go with Wayne Rooney only because he has the diversity to kind of play that deep role and still get points, whereas Robin van Persie is probably going to get shut down because he's up front and he's not really playing around. So if he's not getting balls in, if the guys aren't helping him out, if he's not getting crosses, then it's going to be sparse for points. So for this week, in the first ever and maybe only ever versus match, I'm going with Wayne Rooney and Sergio Aguero because, one, they're both on my team. The last time I featured players that were on my team, I had an excellent game week, so I'm playing that bias, but also because of the facts that I just stated. So, moving on, we'll get into winnable fixtures. Like I said earlier, I think probably the best game to watch this week is going to be the Chelsea United game. Even if I am hungover, I'm probably going to get up and watch it, whether it's at home or at the pub with the boys. But in terms of winnable fixtures, I like to kind of choose some ones that that aren't going to be clear-cut winners. So this week I'm going to go with Reading and Fulham in terms of the winnable fixtures, and I think Fulham, who is actually playing away, is probably going to come home with the victory. I like the fact that Berbatov is coming back and he's actually feeling good about himself. He tends to play a little bit better away, but it's definitely now to Reading's benefit. They also have Pogrebniak and McAnuff, who are kind of clicking right now. Not so much Pogrebniak, but McAnuff has been having some really good. I know, like, he's on my team, so I watch him. He's actually had a couple points in the last few games, and at home he's going to be a little bit more confident. So it's kind of a half and half, but I do feel that Fulham is going to come away with the win in this one, so I'm going to go with Fulham. Now, secondly, I am playing the whole my team bias this week. So I'm going to go through Stoke City and Sunderland. Now, that'll be my second winnable fixture, and I think that Stoke City is going to come away with the win. Now, I like the fact that Stoke has Peter Crouch has been kind of on fire at home. I wrote about this in my post. Last time he was home, he got 2 goals. And if he was a forward, if he wasn't a forward, would have had the clean sheet goal in addition to that when they beat Swansea 2-0. When he was at home before that, he actually got the tying goal against Man City. So he is definitely getting. Oh, somebody loves me. Sorry, just a BBM message. Sorry, where was I? So he's playing really, really well at home. Now, combine that with Begovic. At home, he's playing well too. It just seems that Stoke is one of these home winning teams. And if they're not winning, they're not conceding a lot of goals. You look at their first game against Arsenal, 0-0. You look at their second home game, Man City, 1-1. And then their last home game, which was Swansea, 2-0. So these guys are almost, Stoke City is almost becoming the Swansea City of last year, where you could always count on Stoke having low scoring games when they're at home. So that is something I favor, that I've seen. It's, black and white, it's stats. And now Sunderland, haven't really heard much about them. I don't know if they're struggling. They're kind of lower to mid-table. They are they're tied with Stoke right now, so obviously this game will decide, who's going to be coming above that. But in terms of, their players, Fletcher was on a run for a long time. He had like 100% goal streak, I think, for the first 5, maybe 4. I think for the first, maybe even for 5 game weeks at least, I know he had 1 or 2 goals. And then he's kind of cooled off a little bit in the last 2 game weeks, which has kind of made me concerned. And even in the midfield with Sunderland, they have strength, but they're not getting the performance that they need. You got Sebastian Larsson, McLean, Sessegnon. I remember Sessegnon a couple years ago was like a beast. Like, he was the guy to have on your team too. But it just seems they've kind of not lost their luster, but they're not holding their own as well as they did before. So, in terms of this fixture, I'm going to go with the home team and go with Stoke City for this one. So there you go. We have it. So, like I said, it's going to be the first inaugural and probably only versus for players to watch. If you guys can manage to get Robin van Persie and Tevez on your forward line, or like myself, a Rooney and Aguero on your forward line, I would really suggest keeping that for the majority of the season. I know there's always that temptation to want to find that hot player that's on a streak and scoring and all that. But with these 4 guys, these guys are the top probably 4 guys that come at the end of the year in terms of points. And it's always hard to see, the forest when you're looking right at the tree. So if you're only looking right in front of you, it's going to be hard to see the end of the road. So I recommend you guys keep those guys on your team pending any injuries, because those points are going to add up. It might not be week after week after week, but they will add up. And also, I remember last year when Van Persie RVP went on his run, it got to a point where you couldn't afford him. I think he was something like 15, 15.2, and if you wanted to have him on your team, you were really going to be struggling with the rest of your players. You were going to have a crap bench, and if that bench didn't support you, or you, heaven forbid, you got injuries or multiple injuries, you are screwed. So it's something you want to keep an eye on, because their value will increase as they do better. They score goals, their value increases. Very rarely are these 4 players going to go down. So keep that in mind. Keep them on your team. And as always, I always welcome you to leave your comments either below on the YouTube video or at my post, or at my website on the post. You can leave your setups, suggestions, questions in terms of who you think you should trade for, etc. And as always, best of luck, and I will see you next Thursday. And yeah, it feels good to get another video up. I was kind of upset that I didn't get it out there for you last week. So, but hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next Thursday. Best of luck.